The piano lesson. My wife, Bun, sprang breathlessly through the door, slammed it shut, and not satisfied with engaging the lock and deadbolt, pressed her shoulder hard against it. Upon regaining the power of speech, she shouted out that the garage had attacked her. "What utter nonsense," I exclaimed. "There's no way the garage would attack you. It's harmless. You may have startled it into making a threatening gesture or two, but true garage attacks are virtually unheard of." "Oh, yeah? How about the time the Sweeney's garage ate Wretch's dog, Old Smarts?" Bun had a point. I myself had witnessed Wretch Sweeney's garage gobble up the inaptly named canine. Smarts, shuffling along too close to the open maw of the garage, had been slurped in, leaving only a surprised yelp hanging in the air. The dog was burped up a few minutes later, none the worse for wear and no brighter, but with a haunted look on his face. The dog went about for days afterward, telling of the horrors he had experienced in the labyrinthine innards of the Sweeney garage. But who's going to believe a stupid dog? "Well, sure," I said, "a garage might gobble up a dumb animal, but not an intelligent human being. In that case, both you and Wretch are at considerable risk." "Ha!" I shot back. Speaking of garages, back when I was a young boy, I knew a man who actually kept his car in one. His name was Mr. Jeffries. I don't know where he kept his boat and motor and canoe and tent and fishing tackle and all the other stuff usually stored in garages. Maybe he didn't own any. He never worked at a job, at least one that anyone knew about, because he went to the library almost every day. Miss Higgins, our town librarian, said she enjoyed checking books in and out for him because it was nice to have someone around occasionally to break the monotony. She said Mr. Jeffries knew how to read and speak French, too. Because of that, some folks thought Mr. Jeffries might be a communist saboteur, even though there wasn't anything around for him to sabotage, except Gus Dreeper's sawmill, which Gus said he wouldn't mind having blown up one dang bit anyway, as long as he had a bit of warning. Actually, Mr. Jeffries wasn't all that interesting. I probably wouldn't even remember him, except that he kept his car in his garage and later turned out to be totally insane. He also did me a wonderful favor. He ran off with Miss Swartz, my piano teacher. That's how I knew he was insane. A man would have to be crazy to run off with Miss Swartz. My mother bought the piano for next to nothing from the Gregorys, a frail old couple whose farm the bank had foreclosed on. The Gregorys were going to try to make it to California in their old truck to pick fruit for a living, which seemed like a lot of fun to me, and I wished I'd been going along, particularly when I found out Mom's intention for the piano. As it was, I had no way of knowing the piano had any connection with me. I assumed Mom had bought it only for some decorative purpose, possibly to cover up the spot where a leak in the roof had stained the wallpaper. Without warning, I was signed up for piano lessons with Miss Swartz. Right to the last, I was deceived. Mom said Miss Swartz would give me some culture. I thought it was something to eat, like custard. Piano lessons were the worst thing that ever happened to me. Thus did I become aware of the existence of evil in the world. I didn't mind going to a piano lesson so much while school was on, because my day had already been ruined. When you're suffering anyway, another pain more or less doesn't make much difference. What I truly hated was piano lessons during my summer vacations. A lesson tainted an otherwise joyous day. It was like eating a fine, crisp, juicy apple that you know contains a worm. My first lesson came on just such a fine, crisp, juicy apple of a summer day. I was hollered in off the creek and made to take a bath, wash my hair, cut and clean my fingernails, and put on my good pants and my good shirt, all of which, coming in a single day, would have been too much to bear, except I was venturing into the unknown, which for me had always posed the possibility of adventure. I pedaled my bike off toward town and Miss Swartz's. So far, so good. About a half a mile from town, I sighted Buster Cogwheel headed my way. Buster had a build like a short brick outhouse and about as many brains. I had heard in the grapevine that Buster was looking for me. He apparently had some notion that I had stolen his canoe, which he kept hidden down in the creek so that the real owners couldn't find it. How Buster had got such a ridiculous idea in his head, I don't know. First of all, as I had told my friends, I wasn't in the habit of stealing, and had I been, I certainly wouldn't have stolen from Buster, who had spotted me by now and rushed to the center of the road, his arms spread wide to nab me. Aware of the folly of attempting to reason with a cogwheel, I speeded up, hoping I would have enough momentum to run over him. This maneuver might have succeeded had I been driving a pickup truck, but it was no good on a bike. The impact scarcely caused Buster to blink. He dragged me from the bike by the neck and stood me up on the edge of the pavement. I thought this might be a good time to try reasoning with him, but before I could collect my wits, he punched me in the nose and sent me sprawling down into the muddy ditch. "That'll teach you to steal my canoe," he snarled. Blood spurted from both my nostrils and sprayed all over my shirt. I was furious. "Look what you did, Buster. You got blood and mud all over my good shirt and pants." Buster was shocked. Even a lummox like him knew that wearing your good shirt and pants put you off limits for beating up. "Gee," he said, "I didn't know. How come you're wearing your good shirt and pants in the middle of summer?" "Piano lessons," I said. "I'm on my way to start taking piano lessons from Miss Swartz." "Gee, how could your mom do that to you?" "Beats me," I said, brushing away at the mud on my good pants. "You know women." "Kinda," said Buster. "Hey, guy, I didn't mean to hit you in the nose. I was aiming for your eye. You must have moved." "Yeah," I said, "it was all my fault. I hope you won't hold it against me." "Aw, no hard feelings. Here, let me help you with that nosebleed." Buster tore 2 pieces of cloth from his grungy T-shirt and, tilting my head back by my hair, stuffed them up my nostrils. "There, now you won't drip blood all over Miss Swartz's piano." It bothered me a little having pieces of Buster's T-shirt so near my brain, but I thanked him, climbed back on my bike, and rode off to my lesson. I arrived at Miss Swartz's without further incident, except that Skip Holly's dog, Grover, raced out and grabbed the leg of my good pants, practically tearing it off at the knee. Already, piano lessons were starting to get on my nerves, and I hadn't even had one yet. The worst, however, was still to come. Miss Swartz was about the fussiest person I've ever known. When she opened the door to let me in, a look of undiluted horror spread across her face. Scared me. I glanced over my shoulder to make sure some wild man with an axe or something wasn't sneaking up behind me, but nobody was there. It was none other than me, her new piano pupil, Miss Swartz, was staring at. She looked as if she was about to start gagging. Polite, dainty gagging, I'm sure, but gagging nonetheless. Miss Swartz took me by the collar and dragged me through her fussy living room to her fussy bathroom and made me wash my face and hands and remove the pieces of Buster's T-shirt, which had worked fine for stopping my nosebleed. Then she spread newspapers on her piano bench, and we sat down on them to begin my first lesson. It was awful. She made me sit up unnaturally straight and hold my arms and hands and fingers just so. The first song I was supposed to learn had 3 notes in it, and it was something called The Fairy Picnic. Well, it was a pretty sorry picnic, if you asked me, even for fairies. I came right out and told Miss Swartz that I didn't think I was going to enjoy my piano lessons. "I don't think I'll enjoy them much either," she said, "but one must do what one must do." The minute the lesson was over, she gave me a thin little music book and ushered me out the door with orders to practice the fairy picnic an hour a day for the next week. Fat chance. She never even mentioned the custard. As I was going down the walk, my nerves all frazzled and jumpy, I noticed a man out front, peering under the hood of his car. "Engine trouble," he explained to me. "I have to call a mechanic. Know anyone around here with a telephone?" "Miss Swartz has one, but she'll make you wash that grease off your hands before she lets you use it." "Thanks, son. I owe you one." "No problem, Mr. Jeffries." I still had 5 or 6 hours of daylight left to enjoy myself. What I needed was some quiet and solitude to calm my nerves. What better than paddling a canoe down on the creek? I leaped on my bike and headed home.